Joe Budden's co-host called him out for manipulation.
It's a team, and we're watching you big somebody up to the side and giving them the credit.
Well, I don't think that anybody should feel anyway, because it's nothing that anybody here hasn't heard at some point.
You'll do it in a way to make it seem like, yo, everything was trash before you. It's almost like you putting down the rest of the team for whoever you're highlighting at the moment. Now, insert Mark. You're telling Mark, yeah, I could buy couches for you. Because of you doing this trash before you got here.
Yeah, on the last episode of the Joe Budden podcast, Joe Budden and the rest of the cast would be at odds over the way he tries to manipulate them against each other. Mark Lamont Hill has arrived, and everybody's saying that he's so much better than all that came before him. Not since Rory and Mal has there been a more beloved co-host. People are saying that he's completely changed the fabric of the show and have answered all of the calls for a show to be more well-researched. Well, Flip took issue with how Joe has made it so that he champions Mark only just to shoot down his former co-host. And even Ice would chime in by saying, yeah, why do you do that every time there's a new member of the show? Now, it's funny because that is exactly what happened to Ish and Ice. When they first arrived, Joe would make constant statements about how Flip is turning things up, about how Flip is doing this, how Melissa Ford is doing that. Well, it was really only Flip. Joe doesn't make too many comments about how Melissa Ford changed things. But it was at the expense of Ish and Ice, and he's even doing it so much so that there was a time, I think, when Joe was talking about how people were turning up the show, how they were making up money and all of this stuff. And he didn't really say that for Ish and Ice. And you can tell Ish and Ice got upset. Now, speaking of Ish and Ice being upset, Ish was quiet this whole segment. I wonder why that was. And it comes on the heels of a week where everybody saw Ish look absolutely stupid. I'm telling you, this guy was arguing with Mark Lamont Hill about flat earth theory and all of this jazz. And I don't even know if he genuinely believes in flat earth theory or if he just loves to argue. Like some people, they love to argue and it's a itch that they got to scratch. But I would hope he leaves that alone because he's looking further and further like a moron. Like there's just no ways around it. But it is Ish that's also going viral. A lot of people think that because Mark Lamont Hill is winning these arguments, that he is the one that is making these moments on the show. But you need an Ish. You need someone so stubborn that they can argue points that they haven't even researched themselves. I mean, this guy is getting cooked like a skewer with chicken on it. He's looking terrible. Now, Joe Budden would rebuttal all of the cast claims, saying that, oh, nah, y'all should be happy anytime someone comes on the show and is more successful and makes it better and helps transcend the success of the Joe Budden podcast to other audiences. But I would push back by saying that doesn't mean you have to measure the success of previous cast members by championing one over the other. But only time will tell how this plays out, because I think at some point, one of these cast members has to leave the show. And you may be seeing that with Melissa Ford, who now is appearing on the show once a week. So either she's being demoted or she's choosing not to stop by the show or she's being phased out. And I think in time that will conclude. I think the Melissa Ford chapter might be ending soon. And Melissa Ford is either distancing herself from the Joe Budden podcast or she's being distanced from the show. But let me know what you think. Do you feel like Joe puts people against each other and puts them in a bad spot, so much so that insecurity starts to fester? I mean, Joe's philosophy is to make people uncomfortable. That's the way he likes to create entertainment. It's the way he's done so throughout his career. Even if you look at his JBTV video days, you know, with Tahiri and the rest of his friends, he would do so by asking very line-pushing questions, asking Tahiri, oh, who you slept with? Did you sleep with this guy? How did you sleep with? Like, he would do that type of stuff, and it would make for more entertaining moments. But now the cast may be holding resentment, as in this episode, you saw Ish and Ice snap. You saw Flip take issue with how Joe manages the cast. Hell, Melissa Ford isn't there. I don't know, guys. I think in time, somebody got to get fed up. And I got to be honest, somebody told me this was wild. The cast may not make as much as we think. The cast may be making like 1,500 to 2,000 a week. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, Danny, but the Joe Budden podcast makes so much money. There's no way that's possible. Well, if you look at the optics of it all, the actual analysis, you think Ish and Ice each generate $150,000 worth of value for the Joe Budden podcast? Do you think that? Because I can tell you the amount of views you have to be generating, the amount of clicks and audio numbers you have to be generating to justify that number in podcasting has to be insane. So, about 2,000 per week, which is like 8,000 a month, 80,000, 116, maybe 90,000. So you're looking at people that probably get paid between 90 to 120,000 a year, which to me would be generous for a bunch of folks that are not giving it up. They play it safe. How can these people demand that level of value? And I think that number even might be more solidified because we heard that Adam 22 might be paying some of his top co-hosts $1,800 per week. Hell, even academics threw a number out there saying that he would pay Mark Lamont $1,500 per week. So as you can see, that number, that spot of 1,500 to 2,000 seems to be what podcasters in the industry are making if they aren't at a mic. But let me know what you think in the comments. Do you feel like that number is too low? Do you feel like it's too high? And I only mention this because it allows us to see how dependent are the cast members on the JBP check. Obviously, they don't get paid in just money. They get paid in visibility. They can use the platform to get sponsorships. You know, people might pay them to wear their merch. People might pay them to play their music. In the case of Ice, people might pay them to go co-host some things at the club. So let's see if that check is worth the drama that they get from being played against each other. All right, y'all. That's my video right now. Follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. Follow me on Twitter, The Stop TV. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.